have now worked one of the sleeves complete, and I've done all of the increase here along the way, and then I've switched to smaller double pointed needles for the rib, and now I'm ready to start binding off. Let me show you how to use the Italian bind-off method, which is a method where you thread your yarn onto a tapestry needle and you sort of sew all of the stitches to bind off. Here I have worked the body hem, so you use the same one for the sleeves and for the body hem, and you can see that it creates like a really nice, almost seamless transition, and it's also very stretchy, so that's something which is the benefit of the Italian bind-off. So not only does it look very pretty, it's also very stretchy and nice. After I've completed the cuff rib, or the hem rib, then I've gone ahead and cut my yarn, and I've left a tail that is about 4 times the length of the circumference of the sleeve. For the hem, I've done the same. And when you're going to use the Italian bind-off in the round, you first do a little preparation step, and then there's always kind of 2 steps depending on if you have a knit stitch first or a purl stitch first. And then we always going to treat them as a knit and a purl, so a pair that starts with a knit stitch and then you have a purl stitch, or you have a pair that always starts with a purl and then a knit stitch. But before we get into that, we have one preparation step, and remember, this is only done once. First, we have a knit stitch. So first preparation step, step number 1 of the preparation step is to bring your needle purlwise through this first knit stitch. So you bring it from the right to the left purlwise and pull so that you get all the yarn through. And tighten it a little bit. Then we want to come in between the first and the second stitch, but we want to do that from behind. So I'm going to bring my yarn and my needle to the back of the work, and then I'm going to go between the first and the second stitch here. So between the first and the second stitch, and I pull through. All right, and that is preparation step done. Next, let me show you the step that you're always going to be repeating when you have first a knit stitch on your right needle and then a purl stitch. So this is for a pair when you have a knit and a purl stitch. And a good little rule to remember this is when you have a knit and a purl stitch, so that starts with a knit stitch, you're always going to go through both stitches knitwise. Both stitches knitwise, and you always start with the second stitch. So let's do that. So first, we just bring the needle through the second stitch by going through knitwise, pull it all the way back. Like that, and tighten a little bit. Then I bring my yarn to the front, and then I go through my first stitch, again knitwise. And then we are ready to slide this stitch off. All right, that was the knit and purl stitch sequence. Now we have a purl stitch first and then a knit stitch. So this time we have the yarn here in front. We're first going to go in purlwise through again the second stitch first and then the first stitch. So first the second stitch purlwise, and then I go through the first stitch, again also purlwise. Once I've done that, I can slip this stitch right off. Okay, and then we start repeating these 2 steps. So now I have a knit and a purl stitch. Then the first thing I need to do is I need to bring my needle between the first and the second stitch so that I get my yarn here between them. And then I'm gonna bring again my needle knitwise, first through the second stitch, and then lastly through the first stitch knitwise, and I can slip that off and tighten a little bit. Next we have a purl stitch. That means I'll go in purlwise, first through the second stitch, and then purlwise through my first stitch, slip that right off. We have a knit and purl stitch. Again, bring your needle between the first and the second stitch, pull the yarn all the way through the front, and go in knitwise through the second stitch, through the first stitch, slip off. We have a purl stitch next. That means we'll go in purlwise through the second and purlwise through the first. So you can see, these are the steps you're gonna be repeating all the way through until we get to the end, and I'll just show you how I like to weave in my end for a really invisible seam. Now I only have one purl stitch left on my needle, so I'm gonna go in through that just purl-wise one last time, and I can remove my needle. And now you can see, there's like a little bit of a gap here between. So what I like to do is I find this first knit stitch column, and I will go through here. I will try to find sort of that first leg so that this gap sort of disappears like that, and it's pretty seamless. Maybe I'll go in one more time. Adjustment. So this is kind of, you have to be a little bit creative here. I'm gonna go in through here and in through there, these knits columns, and pull once more a bit tighter to try to make this as invisible as possible. And then just weaving the end. I usually like to kind of break the yarn, go through some stitches here on the wrong side, and go in a few different directions just to make sure that I get it really secure, and that if somehow, for some reason, it would start to come undone, it won't start to unravel my knit project because I have a long tail that I've woven in here. One Italian bindoff complete. Really stretchy and really nice. Very, very satisfying indeed.